So this new camera, it's wonderful, isn't it? Brand new and packed with the latest tech, including a 40 megapixel sensor. 40! And I use it mostly with the Fuji 23mm f1.4 lens. Super sharp, super resolution, which all means I get superb results with this combo. Now whether it is this camera or my old Olympus cameras, or maybe the latest all-dominating release from Sony, what is it now, the A7 IV or Mark V? If a video goes online about a new release, if your favourite YouTube photographer is talking about a new camera, we all tune in to get all the latest info, the spec and buying advice. How fast is the autofocus? How well does it perform at 24,000 ISO? Can it shoot at 50 frames a second? But are we obsessed by all of this? Are we obsessed with the latest sensors and megapixel count? Do we scrutinise new lenses too much? Check the data, run through the charts and see how well one lens performs at different apertures compared to another? Are those corners sharp or are they a little soft? Let's check out another review first before deciding on a purchase. Whoa, come on. There's more to photography than this, surely. Are we more interested in the cameras, the tech and the ability of our cameras, rather than the important thing, the photography itself? The eye for a good picture, the creativity. Are we losing our creativity, I ask? So will a 40 megapixel camera create a better result than an older 16 megapixel camera? Will a cheap lens produce a poor result compared to a £2,000 fast aperture model? How much will all this actually influence our creativity? Will you be a more creative photographer with the bigger and better camera lens than with a cheaper one? Does money buy you creativity then? Are all photographers who own a Leica the ones we should be getting photography advice from? Should owners of the Fuji X-T1 be asking me for advice on how to improve, simply because I now own the latest X-T5? Should I have just bought the older X-T1 myself and be done with it? Save myself some cash maybe? Well, for a while I did actually own the X Pro one, and I did actually prefer it than the X Pro 3 that I borrowed. I liked that it was a bit dated and a bit slower to use. It slowed me down and made me think about the shots a bit more. Take this X-T5 camera off me and hand me the latest digital Leica, yeah, please do, and I would still no doubt take the same pictures. It may take me a few hours to get used to the new camera and its setup, but after that I'd still be taking the same pictures and hopefully with the same originality as I always do. I didn't buy the X-T5 then as I thought it could make me the best photographer I could be. I simply wanted a tool that was nice to use and had a few features that I was seeking from such a tool. The 40 megapixels was overkill really, but I'd made use of that feature by using them to allow me to use one lens at different fields of view without changing lenses, simply by punching into that sensor in camera to frame up my shots. This one feature alone is giving me more time to take pictures, be creative and less time to keep changing lenses. I didn't change over from the Olympus system to try and make myself a better photographer though. I enjoyed using the Olympus system and its compact size allowed me to be a bit more creative without the weight of a bigger system. I feel it helped me become a more creative photographer than my previous Canon full frame system for that reason. So I did reduce my camera size from full frame to micro four thirds to help my creativity, and now I've moved from Olympus to Fuji to a camera that offers some features that I hope will enhance that improvement. The screen that flips up for low-level shots, the sensor that can be used for 2 focal length in-camera cropping, the body that is still compact, which combined with a small prime lens means a smaller bag to take out, which keeps the weight down and the creativity going. The creativity, however, has to come from me. The camera has to become part of me in a way to do that. It can't get in the way of the picture taking process. It needs to become second nature to use. The buttons need to be in the right place and do the things that I want. I want to pick up this camera, put the lens on it and go out and look for pictures. I want to use the settings easily to get creative shots and perhaps experiment with different techniques now. The camera doesn't influence the actual picture taken though. It's just there to make it as easy as possible for me to be creative. When I look through the viewfinder, I'm doing all the work. When I press the shutter button, the camera is just recording my creative view. It can't, and I don't want it to, influence the end result. I'm making the decisions, and it just has to do the clever bit of recording my view that I'm pointing it at and record that as an image. As I take the pictures, I'm not thinking about megapixels, I'm not thinking about frames per second. Well, not unless I need to take multiple shots in a row. That isn't really my thing though. One will do. The decisive moment and all that. I'm not thinking about the 200 odd focus points it may have either. I'm happy with a single one in the centre of the viewfinder. If it can quickly focus on that subject, I'll be happy with that. I don't need it to try and second guess what other subjects may need to be sharp and in focus. Oh, and give me an average meter reading result too, and then I'll decide if that is too light or too dark. A quick rotate of the rear dial will change that to my liking. Rotating this to the right will make the picture lighter and give it a high key effect. To the left makes it darker, which may capture more mood or a low key effect. So let's talk about our images instead of our cameras. Let's not lose the creativity. Let's not let this be the number one factor in our photography. Let's take pictures with whatever lens we have. As well as the bigger 23mm f1.4, I also have the cheaper and smaller f2 Fujicon version if I want a smaller setup. This lens is good enough to capture my creativity with. It may not be as good wide open or let in as much light, but on most occasions that doesn't matter. I'll instead push the ISO up a bit higher, and you're not going to see any softness in the corners when I show you my results from it, are you? So if someone shows you their latest creation, their latest masterpiece, their new photo, ask them about the chosen location, the story behind the capture, the vision behind the result, not what camera they took it with. Be interested in their creativity. Let that be the topic of conversation. The camera used is irrelevant. How many pixels there were on the longest edge of this capture is also irrelevant. The idea behind the capture is the important bit. Let's talk a bit more about the photography. So, what is creativity? Well, I see it as breaking the rules. There are perhaps too many so-called rules in photography, so anytime I feel I'm breaking them, I feel creative too. I like to add blur to my images. I like to shoot landscapes without a tripod. I like to shoot subjects that others deem unphotogenic. I like to shoot with cameras, other than digital, that create a slightly distorted or soft result, or just have a characteristic look. These are then matched to subjects that will be enhanced by that. Do we always need front to back sharpness? Can some camera shake be acceptable? Will my picture fail if it doesn't conform to the rule of thirds? These perhaps are questions we should be asking and testing, and just ignore which camera we use for those results. The megapixel count is irrelevant in this discussion. So recently I noticed one YouTuber photographer put out a video about how to get sharper images. He covered all the basic tips and techniques required to make sure your image results are as sharp as they can be. All very good. However, this prompted one viewer to comment back to say, instead of these overdone videos, how about a video that talks about mystery, ambiguity, and a sense of wonder in an image? I presume then he was talking more about the creative side of photography. And yes, maybe even if an image has to be sharp to be acceptable and be as powerful, how about a video about that, he asked, just for a change. And he's right. He's asking for more about the creativity than the technicality. Instead of maximum sharpness, can we not explore, softness, blur, lack of sharpness? It's an interesting idea, isn't it? But of course, would that make for a popular video on YouTube? Will this one, for instance? Well, we'll have to see. And in a way, that's why many of my videos are exclusive to my E6 subscription. I create a variety of videos, and I know some wouldn't be so popular here on YouTube because of the algorithm, so they stay as E6 exclusives. Exclusive as are my non-podcasts, my e-guides and my ebooks, also all part of the E6 subscription that I offer. There's a lot more to me than you see on this YouTube channel, So I was recently thinking that maybe I shouldn't have announced my new purchase. I should have kept this new Fuji camera secret. not shown it in any of my on-location videos and pretend I was using another camera, or just let the viewers guess the camera I was using. I know many would still ask, and I'm always tempted to reply, well, the one most appropriate to this shoot, and be done with it. Maybe I should do like the press photographers do and put some gaffer tape over the Fuji logo and cover up that it's an X-T5 too. Maybe then I'll get questions about my creative process instead. I would much prefer to answer those questions. So let's be creative. Let's stay creative, and let's not forget the creativity in our photography. Let's talk about that. Surely that's more interesting than megapixels or why I ditched Olympus. I'll see you next time.